I can feel anger, I can feel disgust, but I'm still going. So yeah, a lot of people do that. जाते हैं, लेकिन बस अपना मन मार के जाते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी जाते हैं.
Tell me something about the character of Ganesha.
Ganesha is Chandrika's grandson, Prakash's son. He is born with a genetic disease that affects his ears and eyes, and he looks very much like the Lord Ganesh himself. And every time Chandrika looks at him, she's being a very religious person, she looks at him and says, "Oh my God, Ganesh is born. You know, that Lord Ganesha in my house." And the character is a very, very sensitive person. And he comes back home and he sees his grandmother's plight. He loves her so much that he goes home and tries and convinces his father and makes the father see the side of the story which he's been missing or which he's conditioned not to believe. So I think he's a very strong character in this entire book, and in fact one of my favorite characters.
When you look at Ganesha's younger brother, that's Karthik, and Prakash's younger son, Prakash you've shown him as more as what is the second generation, American Indian or Desi or whatever you want to call it, and with all the resultant. But somehow he also finds his roots through religion, be it discovering the Ganesha temple inside the river, which gives him a professional grounding, or the very cute connection with Solanki's daughter. So what do you think essentially, how did you try and keep a difference between Karthik and Ganesha, because two characters who are very much together, but how did you ensure that they come out as very separate, distinct characters?
Karthik was born and brought up in Canada. Ganesha was definitely born here, and his grandma had a very strong connect to Ganesha. She didn't feel, not that she didn't love him, but the emotional connection was not so strong because she believed the Lord has come home. So her connect with Ganesha was very, very strong, the elder grandchild. And the younger grandchild was more frivolous. He didn't want to be in India. He didn't love India. For him, it was just another land, And I don't know how and why people don't believe me, but trust me, stories just flow inside of me. Characters just flow inside of me. Now, if you ask me, why did I create? I don't create. They are just there. I just write. And we make it ready to publish. So I really don't know how and why Karthik came to my mind. But he was a Canadian. He did not feel any strong connect to India.
And yet he's the one who stays back.
He stays back for the love of another lady, not because he loved India at all. He was a young boy. His love for Solanki's daughter was the most important thing in the world. And his brother kept telling him, please stay back for Dadi. And he kept giving 100 reasons, but the next minute he found love. And he said, all right, I'm staying back, Like any other young boy whose lady love is the most important thing in his life, not his grandmother, most certainly.
So this is exactly what is my next question, because we'll start deciphering a little bit of the title now and taking into account the overall book and other things which are there, So, why is it that the parent love is not enough and sexual love is?
I think it's got to do with age. When I was very young, I wanted a man who was like a stud, like big, broad shoulders. A man who would go for a walk with me every morning, who would have tea with me, and great things in my head. And then slowly I realized that सबसे important ये है that the man respects me and loves me, and I'm so grateful to God that I have a man like that. So I think values change. Karthik was very, very young. He had these hormones raging inside of him. For him, the most important thing was Solanki's daughter, and I don't blame him. All young children are like that. Slowly, they understand the value of the elder. They understand the value of their parents. When they become parents themselves,
so I
guess that's very gradual, I think.
Which love took Prakash away?
The love for a child took Prakash away, not his lady love, most certainly. He just got his son was not well and he just didn't think of his mother. So that is what I'm trying to bring out. A lot of people along the line, in spite of all their love in place, their values in place, they just lose balance. And that is what a real man or a real woman is. To be striking the right balance is the most important thing in life.
Tell me something that, are you satisfied with what has actually come out about the relationship between Prakash and Ashi? Somehow, even between Prakash and Ashi, and even earlier in your book, the relationship between the husband and wife is not, the way a supportive or modern so-called love relationship should be. So, are you okay with this? Do you think this is a moving forward? Ashi seems to be not having a voice of her own.
She does have a voice of her own a little later, but I guess that happens, I don't know. As much as I'm a feminist, the fact is when, at least in an Indian setup, when you get married, most of us get married very early, even now, 25, 26, I think it's still very young. It takes a lot to voice your opinions. Initially, you just go with the flow. You just envelope whatever is happening. I think it takes years for women to settle down in their marriages and to be able to voice their opinions, however feminist we try to be. That's the truth. And that's the truth. I think all of us relate to it. When I wrote the book then, and when I write the book now, I really feel that young marriages, the man is mostly a very dominant factor. Slowly, around 35, 40, 45, the understanding becomes much more between your husband, your in-laws, you get very settled with, and that is you bring out the woman in yourself, Till then, you're somewhere along the line.
Wife, mother, daughter-in-law.
Yes, a wife, a mother and a daughter-in-law. And I think you have a baby also that time initially. तो आपकी जिंदगी तो उसको पालने पोसने में लग जाती है, आपकी personality कहाँ निकल के आती है? It's only later which, gradually you grow as a woman and you start doing your own thing. And I'm sure so many of us can relate to it. First 10 years of our life, we did nothing but just had babies and listened to our husbands and wherever they took us just quietly went. फिर हम उसके बाद शेरनियाँ बन गई, उससे हम तो नहीं करेंगे.
And the husbands are still there, guys.
Yeah, then the husbands take a back step and say, all right.
Okay, go tell me something, why is it so much about a mother and a son and the mother responsibility and the dad also, at least, I believe that the fathers are equal partners in bringing up a child and a child learns equally from both. I'm not one for, glorification of motherhood, right? My PhD in feminism, in fact, has taught me that we shouldn't glorify motherhood, we shouldn't glorify anything. We should be very clear about it. So, why do, not just Chandrika, right? But even otherwise, why do fathers are always sidelined? We want Lalit to write a book now.
No, fathers are not sidelined. I think they have a very important role to play in the upbringing of the child. But try and understand this character here. She doesn't have a husband. Her husband passed away very early. So there's no way I could have put the role of the father. And this woman, Chandrika, was a widow. So she played the role for father and a mother both, and I still believe, whether I'm sure Anita ji and have a huge difference of opinion, I think there's nobody like a mother in this world. No matter how much a father loves a child, माँ का प्यार तो दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा unconditional है. I'm sorry, but I don't compare a father's love to a mother's love at all. I personally don't. I give full regard to my father. I love him from the bottom of my heart. I don't think जितने मेरे पिताजी ने किया दुनिया में कोई कर सकता है. फिर भी मेरी माँ का प्यार मेरे लिए सर्वोपरि. I'm being very honest about it.
Okay. Once Prakash takes the decision to come back, very much similar in this decision the way he took to go away, right? On the spot of the moment, without taking Ashi, his wife, into confidence, and okay, I'm going, right? So he might be leaving here, he leaves Solanki in the lurch and rushes off, and there he leaves the hospital where he was earning, where he was working, and plus had just become president of the, I think, Canadian Medical Association, and just ups up and leaves here, So, is that part of how you've drawn up his character, or was that, the only way to do it?
No, I have. He was a very, Prakash was a very impulsive person. That's why he one fine day packed his baggages and he left without thinking. That was the only difference between the character of Dr. Solanki and Dr. Prakash. If you read the book, you'll know how beautiful it is. Dr. Solanki is the more grounded person, the person who thinks before he takes decisions. But here was a man who just thinks what came to his mind. And that is where we have to realize that every time there's a situation which is challenging, you can't just boom, 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 one day decide and disappear and not even think that how will my wife feel, how will my children feel, there's so many other circumstances as a family man which you need to take into consideration. So, for me, my hero was definitely not Dr. Prakash. My hero was Dr. Solanki, who was the more sensible, the more grounded person in this entire book.
Okay, another thing was that once Prakash is back, then the things definitely move very fast, especially in the third person accounts. And we see that how, everything is suddenly fine. Solanki forgives him, his mother forgives him. It's so easy to forgive and forget and move on.
A lot of people have asked me that mothers forgive. I don't think a mother would ever hold it against the child who's coming back. I don't think so at all. Chandrika waited for her son forever, and when he came back, she welcomed him with open arms. Any mother in the world would do that. I refuse to believe for a minute that a mother would say, please don't come back, I don't love you, go away. I don't need you anymore. She wouldn't do that, ever.
But then, do things get normal so soon? Is it easy for him to settle down?
That is for you all to decide. Please read the book and understand how difficult or how easy it was for Dr. Prakash to come back and settle down in the country. And you have to understand, it is my view of the world. Your view of the world may be different. So I take you in space to a village in Mandvi where this family has a child which goes away. After you read the book, you tell me how much you relate to which character and how much you love which character, and that is what most important. I refuse to